Hello, Alt Majority fam. Welcome back. I'm Shae.
And I'm Shannon. Hello, beautiful ones. Thank you so much for coming to our channel and stopping in today. We're delighted to speak to you. We have a lot of discussion on our channel about spirituality, about how to live a life of joy. We talk about the law of attraction. We talk about really just how to bring your vibrations up, how to work through the things in your life, in your body, and your soul that are stopping you from manifesting your most beautiful life.
We share our messages of spirituality with you, things that we've gone through, so that you may learn from us and we may learn from you. Let's talk in the comments down below. And today, what are we talking about?
Okay, so we've been working through the chakra systems. Well, actually, we've only done one. This is our second one that we're going to do, the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra. So we're going to talk about this today. So tiny bit of a heads up of where you are listening. I just wanted to kind of just say we're going to talk about sexual trauma a little bit in this episode. And if you're somewhere where you don't want to hear this right now, or kids in the car or whatever, just we're going to be gentle about it, definitely. But I just wanted to let you know that that's something we're going to talk about before you continue listening or not. Swing back to us later, maybe, if you're not in a good spot emotionally or physically to hear about this right now. But it's a really, really important chakra, and not just for that. We're going to get into all that, but Shae, if you could talk a little bit about how the system, the chakra system itself works, and how does the sacral work with the root? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so the chakra system is essentially this line, right, from your root to your crown, and above and below, depending on who you're talking to. There are chakras that are lower than the root. There are chakras that are higher than your crown chakra. But there are these wheels of energies, these portals in our body that accumulate energy, but also send energy out and in. So one of my favorite ways to think about it is that it runs horizontally, right, vertically, but it also, from each center, there's 7 chakras that we're going to specifically talk about, they run horizontally too. So they interact with your field horizontally as well as all together.
Okay, so those around you, in front of you, and with you, and then also like up and below is what you're saying.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And so if your root chakra is blocked, then you're not allowing the earth energy to penetrate your being, and then vice versa. So if your root chakra is blocked, then you can't get to your other chakras. So that's why it's important, and that's why so many people talk about the chakras in a way of like unblocking them one by one, or paying attention to them in that specific pattern, because you can't get to the next if the one below it is blocked.
Right. Okay. So please see our video on taking care of your root chakra. We'll link it down below, because you probably should get through that first before you hit this up. Now, let's talk about what kind of energy the sacral holds. So we're talking about your creativity. We're talking about your confidence level. We're talking about how inspired you are, how joyful you are. We're talking about your satisfaction with life. We're talking about your ability to feel and have pleasure in life. And we're talking about your intimacy. And all of that stuff is sitting right there in your sacral. And when we think about how all of that gets blocked, I mean, that's kind of where we go into the sexual trauma, is a lot of where some people's sacral gets really stuck. But also, it definitely could be just your needs weren't met in some way. Maybe you just didn't get enough love or attention. Maybe it wasn't a violation. Maybe it was just a lack of that. Somehow you were given the message that you weren't worthy. Maybe you have some abandonment issues or something going on in there where you somehow, as a little kid, thought somehow that the way to get attention, or how you were going to get attention, or how your confidence and your ability to sort of like express yourself to the world, your joy, who you are, kind of the aspect of who you are, somehow you were given the message that you weren't okay on some level, or that was damaged or blocked in some level. So what we see with this sacral is when it's blocking all those things that I just listed out. It's blocking your creativity. It's blocking your self-expression. It's blocking basically your satisfaction with life, your literal ability to feel pleasure and happiness, your literal ability to feel pleasure, right? Because you don't feel you're worthy of it. You can't let go enough to actually feel pleasure. And this is why it's tied to sexuality also too, obviously. And if you had some type of sexual trauma, especially in your childhood, now this is where I might get a little bit deep on people here, but there's some deprogramming that occurred right then. And so this is an area that really is going to need to be healed. And there is a lot of ways you can go about doing this, but something you have to know and understand. There's so much science around this. There's so much research. There's a lot of years of trauma type treatment, sexual trauma treatment, a lot that we know about what is going on inside the body and the brain when a person experiences sexual trauma. And if it's happening in your 7-year download, you can imagine how it skews all of those things that I just discussed. It skews all of that. And so then it expresses in a way it's either under expresses, sometimes it over expresses. And this is true of any injury of the sacral, but when we're talking about sexual trauma, very often children take that on, and we do this as adults too. So this is not something that's actually just happening in kids. We tell ourselves that there's something about us that is off, or that brought that on, or that attracted, or something about us in our being that basically created that situation. And this is where we talk about, of course, it's not your fault if someone violates you. Of course, it's not your fault. And everyone can understand that. And everyone does understand that. But people who experience sexual violence often will say that that's true of everybody else, except for secretly, I know I I created or drew mine in, or secretly something was off about me that, actually made that situation happen. And that's not true. That's not true. Please see our root chakra episode about how assigning the action to the person who did the action and letting them have the blame of that. When we talk about healing this, facing it is the first part. And honestly, that can be the most terrifying part, right, Shae?
And I
The
want to
most terrifying part.
not even just facing it, but connecting with it.
Yeah.
Right? And
I mean, that's not even the step yet. It's actually acknowledging, because any wound of the sacral is going to be so hard to acknowledge, because either you're acknowledging an abuse that occurred to you or a neglect that occurred to you, and it very likely could have been someone you love and trust that actually did those actions toward you. And it's really hard. It really confuses us as children, especially when it's the one that we love that is hurting us. And this is true of adult people who survive sexual violence. The one that they trust and love very often is their perpetrator. And so this is very confusing to us. And we say to ourselves, why? What is it about me? But also, why am I still talking to this person? Why do I still love this person? Why do I still want the attention of this person? And it really is just because every single thing that you loved and trusted and knew about this person is also still true. We've talked about the dark and the light. All of that is also still true, and it's not erased because they do an action against you. It's not erased. That's there, and it confuses us, and especially as children, we don't understand. So therefore, we take it upon ourselves and say, well, there must be something messed up in us because this person I love, right? So we have to be able and willing to face that something happened. And then we can go about trying to integrate. And that's what you're talking about. And for many people, they're going to need professional help here.
Mhm.
They're gonna need to go find some therapist, some talk therapy, or some type of
Support.
professional
Yeah.
person. I highly, highly recommend you do this. Every single state in the United States has a rape crisis center, by the way. You will be able to find one. There are national hotlines. I'm sure there are international hotlines. In fact, I know there are, where you can call and find local resources in your area. Shay, talk a little bit about local rape crisis centers and what people could expect to find if they call a hotline.
Yeah, so I actually currently hold a hotline. I know that you do as well. But when I get a call, if I get a call, you can expect empowerment counseling, options counseling. You can expect someone to listen to you, and you can expect someone to encourage you to take the next step, right? Because that's often the scariest part. You can expect someone on the other end of the phone to support you in whatever decision you choose to take next. Um, but the most important thing is someone that's there to listen to you, because a lot of the time that's the first step, is even just speaking it out loud to somebody. Sometimes it can feel safer to say it to a stranger who you know is not connected to you, or anybody else in your life.
So true. And just know that they've been trained to hear
Yeah.
this information, and
Yes.
they're gonna know where to send you.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and it's just, or find a really, really trusted friend. But I just encourage you to be careful with that, because most people don't know how to handle this information. And you may have even told someone one time and they had a bad reaction, or they had a reaction that actually either blamed you or somehow made you feel like, I will never say that again to another living soul. I
Right.
just encourage you to try again, because in order to heal the sacral, whatever type of damage you have, you got to move that energy out. You got to see it, you got to acknowledge it. Yeah, it's hard to verbalize that stuff. I definitely don't mean to suggest that this is an easy process in any single way, shape, or form.
Powerful.
Just know, right? And just know, I'll speak from my own experience. I know this. I've experienced sexual trauma. I understand how terrifying it can be to even say the words or talk about it at all. But once you do, and you really, really assign the blame to the person who committed the act, and then you take your own power back and you just start to work through all that, you move that energy out of you and you heal that, you can change your life. You can bring all that back in that you thought you lost. You can definitely heal. I've done it myself. I've seen people do it. I've seen the beauty and the resiliency of the human soul, spirit so many times. So I want to just encourage you that this very scary trauma that exists is something that you can definitely face. You can definitely heal. So go get some help. There's some really interesting ways they're helping people with this. One is called EMDR. That's Echo Mike Delta Romeo, EMDR. And this is I don't know how, I can't remember exactly what the EMDR stands for, but it's this treatment they do that involves you just watching a light as you're relaying the experience, and it somehow separates you emotionally from it, and you're allowed to talk through it. And when you're able to become dispassionate from your experience, then you truly are able to see how it wasn't your fault, and you're able to kind of work through that. So that's just one small way that they are helping people work through this type of trauma. But there's definitely other ways. So definitely talk about it, but do some physical movement. I mean, literally hip openers. Talk about that, Shay, about how we can move some of that energy out of your body using like yoga or movement.
Yeah, well, I just want to backtrack a little bit. And the element that governs the sacral chakra is water, right? So anything
Yes.
that gets you flowing is going to help just release this energy that's accumulated, because our chakras
Right.
are such beautiful, beautiful intelligence in them that they're made to hold this for you, right? So you know
Right.
exactly where to go to help release this energy. And so our hips
Right.
especially hold so much emotion. And so, I mean, there's so many different yoga poses. There's so many different yoga flows that you can incorporate into your daily routine just to get the energy moving right there. One of my favorite things, most favorite things ever to do is just to sit in a cross-legged position and put my hand. Your sacral chakra is located below your navel and above where your root chakra is. So it's the
Right.
space between your navel and the base of your spine. So just placing your hands there, and it's gonna be difficult, especially if you aren't connected to your pleasure, your sexuality, your
Right.
desires, your creativity. It is a test to be able to place your hands there and just really connect with yourself. But I will definitely in the show notes link a couple different YouTube videos that will help you open up your sacral chakra, because just the moving in general. And I think a lot of people think that um, it's like the moving itself. But no, you'll find that when you're doing the movements, you're also moving out emotions, moving out memories. And so it's important to do the movements in a safe space. It's important to create space for yourself to be able to release and to authentically be yourself and express. Um, Yes, yoga for your sacral chakra is just so important. But you, any type of water meditation, it can be picking up your glass of tea, taking a sip mindfully, and sending it down to this area in your body, and just encouraging movement to flow. It can be that simple.
Yeah, beautiful. And really, just if you are a person who received negative messaging around sexuality,
Mm,
around, just feeling shameful about it, if you have shame around it, really dig down and figure out what that is. Just even about touching yourself, touching your own body, being aware of what feels good on your own human body. That's not something that everybody was really made to feel comfortable about.
yeah.
So that's another way, really, honestly, to connect to that is just being willing to touch yourself, being willing to know what feels good. Um, we already gave the warning about don't listen to this with your kids. So I sort of feel like we could go there a little bit on that, Shay. But I mean, that's definitely part of being able to open up sexually is just being comfortable with your own human body.
Yeah, absolutely. And your sexual energy is your creative energy. I want everybody to know that.
Yes.
And it's your birthright to feel pleasure. I find that a lot of people
Yes.
feel that it's selfish, or like it's not
Right.
for them, it's just for a certain type of person. No, it is our birthright to feel pleasure and to tap into this creative
Yes.
energy.
It definitely is. And sex should be good. It should feel good. It should feel pleasurable. Full. You should not be in fear. You should not be in pain. You should not feel threatened. You should not feel compelled. You should feel amazing. And that's what it's supposed to be like. You
Yeah.
shouldn't finish with sex and just be like, well, um, that was okay, or that was consensual, or whatever. No, you should be like, that was amazing. And if it wasn't, you talk to your partner, you talk to them about it, because this is, again, all of the sacral stuff, all the damage there really, really gets in on the intimacy, the actual emotional intimacy as well, not just physical intimacy, but they're so connected, so, so connected. If you can't go there physically and be intimate, really in a deep level, emotionally, that's not going to happen, and vice versa. They're so, so connected. That's where it goes down to your vulnerability and being willing to actually say the things that you like and what feels good. All of that is just a vulnerable point that it's so scary sometimes to get to.
Yeah.
And that's where you just have to be patient with yourself. You
Mhm.
just have to ask for patience from your partner, and just be slow about it and just figure out together what feels good. Because sex, again, should be a really pleasurable experience for both people or whomever. We don't judge, two or more, whatever.
Yes.
Whomever, okay? The whole thing should be pleasurable for whomever is consenting to participate. So,
And it all starts with just knowing what it is your desires are in general. How are you supposed to know how to
yes,
communicate when you're not even sure yourself? So do some research on
that's
that.
it.
Do some journaling. I
That's
remember
it.
once I was really in this phase of like, what are my biggest, highest, most pleasurable desires? I'm going to write them all down. And guess what? It took a couple months of me writing them down, revisiting them. giving myself pleasure to be able to like talk about it with the people in my life.
Yeah, right. And so pay attention really of how comfortable you are with your own body.
Yeah.
Another couple kind of red flags for your own self. If you're a person who feels obsessive, if you get jealous,
Mm,
if you really focus on controlling your partner, you probably have some sacral issues going on, because really what's going on is person who's doing those things, the jealousy, the controlling behaviors, they're really trying to protect their own sacral in a way, right? They're trying to control the other person, which is just a recipe for disaster
yeah.
and never really works. But they're trying to control the other person because they want to control their own, um, energy. They want to make sure they're not hurt. A lot of times, of course, we know hurt people hurt people. We already know all that, but um, this is just that issue of control that comes up is definitely sacral issues, because if you're really, really secure with yourself, you're so secure with who you are, you actually don't need to control another person. And we talk about how, if somebody leaves you, um, that hurts. We get attached to people. Absolutely. That doesn't feel good. But at the same time, if you have a healthy sacral, you'll understand that there's something there that isn't working. Well, wish them well.
Yeah.
There's someone better for you that will actually match better for you. Hang in there for that person. Don't waste your time trying to obsessively get somebody back that doesn't really actually match you. If they want to be there, they will be. You can't make somebody be with you. You can't. And I
No.
know we talk about law of attraction a lot, and people talk about manifesting their love in a specific person. Again, we have an episode talking about how actually you should just love yourself and be the
Yeah.
best of yourself. And then you will find someone who matches that. And that's really the better thing. So if you are obsessing, and if you are being somebody who's really trying to make someone do something, turn around and look at yourself, put that mirror up in front of you, and really figure out, what is that about?
Yes.
What is actually going on? It's probably a projection. You're mirroring something here.
And how about this? If you are somebody also who's just like seeking pleasure from others, take a step back.
Yeah,
How can you give that to yourself? Because just know
yeah,
this too, it's like everybody is in charge of their own reality and that is it. So we have to be able to give that respect to other people and know that they are in charge of their reality. I'm not. I'm in charge of my reality. And so
yeah.
if you're looking for pleasure, if you're looking for things of higher desire, give them to your dang self. One way I do this
So,
weekly, sometimes daily, is self massage. It's like give yourself an oil
yeah,
massage, rub your body, touch your body. You can
yeah, right.
you can do it yourself.
Yeah, or whatever it is that makes you feel amazing, do more
Yes.
of that. Because again, this is your creativity center.
Mhm.
So if you have some art inside of you, if you have music inside of you, if you have some creative outlet and you're feeling stuck kind of in that, just do something you love.
Yep.
That's really another way to open it up. That's where, like, dance.
Yeah.
That's another good one. We've talked before about that Osho dynamic meditation where you're just jumping, but even just dancing, just moving the body. If that gives you joy, do more of that. Do something that really literally gets you flowing, gets those juices moving inside of you. What puts a smile on your face? What makes you laugh? Do more of that. Focus on that. We've talked a lot about what you focus on expands. So don't live in the past and bring that thing up to yourself every single time. And I understand about triggers. Yes, this happens in this area. Know this. Um, the way we store traumatic memories in our brains is very different than how we store regular memories. You know this, Shay. We don't store them in a linear fashion. If I were to ask you about your day right now, you could tell me, your whole day and what you did from what you woke up from here. But if I was asking about a story of sexual violence, that's not how it would come out. It
Yeah.
would come out very differently. It would come out in snippets, in chunks, in sights, in smells, in
Yeah.
feelings. And you wouldn't be able to necessarily put it together. It's not stored that way. And it's real confusing sometimes to our brains how it sits inside of us and just it lodges in and it hooks onto things that we don't even necessarily recognize as what we call those triggers.
Right.
And it's like this. It's like this. I was seeing or smelling something at the time of my assault, and I could be somewhere else, utterly and completely unconnected place, and see or smell something similar. Something inside my brain tells me I'm in danger because it knows what danger looks and smells like,
Yeah.
and it puts me into fight or flight or freeze or surrender. Okay, it puts me in one of those. And this is what happens. And these are the triggers. So I understand about that. Everything we said earlier about go talk to your therapist, go find and seek treatment. There's ways that you can work through those triggers, be aware, just know that you can get through this. Know you can claim your ability to do that and to heal this, and just don't believe anybody or anything that says you can't heal from sexual trauma or any type of trauma to your sacral. Anybody not loving you, anybody abandoning you, anybody walking away from you, or just being told you're not good enough. Somebody telling you that something that you made that you love wasn't good enough. Could be something like that, something that you poured your heart and soul into, and somebody passed off as nothing. Maybe you wrote a book and you can't find a publisher. Maybe you're an artist and you feel like nobody's buying your art and you feel crushed for some reason. This is where you just have to know that the sacral and your self-worth are really, really, really connected. So circle back to yourself and work on that self-worth.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get through all of those issues. Don't let your reality trick you into thinking that you're not worth it. Because again, sometimes we call in these things in our reality, going back to sort of the law of attraction idea of that you call in what you are. So if I'm having a lot of anxiety and I'm worried about nobody's ever gonna get buy my art because it's not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, it's probably not worth what I probably made it too much money, I'm charging too much, all of those things. That is sacral issues, you know? Don't downgrade yourself ever. Never downgrade yourself. Never let anybody else devalue you, and definitely don't devalue yourself.
You hold the medicine, and this is the beautiful part
Yes,
about the sacral is that when it is balanced, it does allow you to flow. You're able
it
to
does.
get these scenarios where maybe you're rejected or maybe it's not working out the way you thought to, and you're able to see the gratitude in it, recognize everything is for me, right? And you're able to flow through those situations with ease, and you're able to pivot so much more easily when you have a balanced sacral. And like we said, we're not suggesting this is easy. This is deep, deep work, right? But you're worth it.
Yeah.
And your body holds this beautiful medicine. We have so much intelligence inside of ourselves. We are such beautiful instruments that when you're able to tap into those, clear the space, you can open up your potential like no other. And you need
You
nothing
definitely
else
can.
except for you to do that.
Yeah. And you actively have to make an effort to do it
Mhm.
because the body holds the score. That there's another book we should definitely put down in our notes. The body holds the score. It just talks about how the physical trauma physically sits there. So it can move out of you. You can move it out. You can definitely do it. And when you start to clear that up, it'll open that whole channel up again, like Shay talked about at the beginning, how it really just helps the energy move all the way through you, up and down, forward and backwards. And then when you have that healthy sacral, that's when your confidence soars.
Mhm.
That's when your creativity just expands. That's when you can really feel joy. It's actually amazing when you feel the joy and the pleasure that the sacral chakra actually is there to really help us grab onto in this life and help us experience it during this lifetime in these human bodies that we're in.
Yeah. An analogy just popped into my head, okay, of a way to explain underactive, balanced, and overactive sacral. You have a piece of beautiful chocolate cake in front of you. Somebody who has an underactive sacral, right, is going to take a few bites of it and be like, oh, I can't eat this whole piece of cake. Somebody who's an overactive is going to wolf that baby down, not even really taste it. Go back for another
Yeah.
piece, maybe. The person with the
Yeah.
balanced sacral is going to be moaning and groaning with every bite. Enjoy every single swallow of delicious cake that they have. And that is just such a good analogy, I think, of just pleasure in life in general.
Perfect.
It's like when you have
Perfect.
this balanced sacral, you are able to enjoy now, the moments now. You're not worried about the future, worried about the past. It is just this ability to flow and to enjoy the things that are in front of you.
Absolutely. And we don't say this enough. Meditate, meditate, meditate. When
Yeah,
we talk about going in deep and talking to yourself, that's what we're talking about. And I don't think you're able to really connect deeply with your energies until or unless you're willing to go in and meditate. And when we're talking about meditating, you can start small. You can start with 3 minutes. You can start with, 10 minutes if you can get to that. But really, the idea is to really calm your mind and really center yourself. This is really going to help this sacral if you can just calm the energies,
yeah.
because that really will just help it get to that healing space.
And just know that, especially when you first begin to meditate, you're going to have thoughts, right, running through your mind. Just notice them and let them pass
Yeah,
along. And those
just
thoughts,
witness.
they are part of the medicine, right? Because they're going to tell you exactly what you're overthinking about, maybe what you're underthinking about, what you're obsessing over, the things that are popping up, maybe things that you need to delve into a little bit deeper. They're going to let you know
Yeah,
what things you need to release, what things you need to call upon. So your thoughts are a true gift. You aren't your mind, right? So it's a separation. That's the whole point of meditation, is to just be the observer of the thoughts, recognize and
right.
realize that they aren't you, but they hold so much beautiful medicine in just how your body is coding the situations that are occurring in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just such a amazing way to actually honor your body. There's so much science on how good meditation is for you. There's just even how working through all of these things that seem so hard to do, um, are just really so worth it at the end of the day, because it goes to your value. Just how do you value yourself? Are you worth it? Are you investing in you? How much time are you putting into you? How much love are you giving to you? How much are you cherishing you? That's where we were saying about just even touching your body, just showing yourself love. The sacral is completely, absolutely connected to your self worth.
Yeah.
And it will show when you start to really value yourself and really, really consider yourself to be of worth. As soon as you know that you're the prize, everything changes. Everything changes. You will stop actually allowing things into your life that feel devaluing and disempowering, because you'll be like, no, wait a second, I'm the prize. And you'll understand that anyone who isn't vibing with you, well, okay, then that's them. Don't vibe with me. I'll find someone else who does. And it's not to downgrade them or to make that that non-connection anything less than a very needed contrast
Hmm.
that you're showing yourself. A very needed contrast. Show yourself the contrast, accept the contrast when you see it. And by contrast, what do I mean by contrast, Shay? What do I mean?
What do you mean?
What I mean by contrast is when you do things to show yourself and remind yourself that, nope, you don't want that or you don't like
Yep.
that. That's what contrast is, because
Yeah.
we all do it. Our
Yeah.
mind drifts. Okay. So we all do it. And then suddenly a thing will happen that we don't like or don't want. And we'll be like, oh yeah, that.
And
Okay. And it's the polarity of the universe we're in, how there is no love without hate. There is no dark without light. It's that.
I was just about to say, and see our episode about the law of opposites, which is actually
Yes,
here for our own favor. For
it is. It's
that
all of
exact
that is
reason.
for us.
Yep.
Everything that's here in front of you is for you.
Yep.
So everything you're seeing, everything that has happened is you have the ability to transmute, to transform all that energy. You
Yep.
do. You
Yep.
have the ability. You're a divine being of energy, and everything is energy. You're a being of energy, and you're able to control. You have the power. This again is to your power. You have the power, dear one. You have the power, listener. You have the power to choose to control your life, and all of those powers are divinely given to you. Claim them. Claim them. And don't let anybody else take them from you. Never let anybody else tell you you're not worth it. Never let anybody else tell you how to feel about you. Never let anybody else dampen your light. You shine. You have it within you. You do, lovely one. Claim it, own it.
I love you. I'm so proud of you for listening to this episode, for doing the
Yes,
work. Simply just listening to this episode is going to open up
right.
the possibilities of healing. And so I'm just so proud of you and so grateful that you are here. And if you are looking for more support, I mean, reach out to either one of us. Connect with us on Instagram, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. What we are here to do is to help raise the collective consciousness. So we are here for you with anything that you may need.
Yeah, definitely. Remember, we've got some resources down there in our show notes of hotlines that you can call if you are looking for some really safe and free and confidential help. As
Mhm.
I was saying, everywhere you can find, and go do find that help because you're definitely worth it. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us. Find us on YouTube, find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we would really appreciate any comments or likes or share with your friends. Thank you so much. We love you. We are we're rooting for you. You're
Yeah,
part of us because we're all connected.
you are me and I am you. And I would just love, let's end this episode with the collective inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, let it all go. Noises are invited, encouraged. So let's inhale and exhale. I love you and see you next Monday.